on my screen, but if you can hear me nice and clear, can you just give us a thumbs up in your screen? Perfect. Thanks very much, guys. Okay, right, we are gonna kick off now. So thank you very much for joining me for tonight's session. We certainly value your time. I hope tonight will be useful, or at least a start to get you thinking. Just before we start, just a few house rules. I know everyone's on mute already, and if you can just keep yourself on mute throughout, that would be great, just because it reduces any background noise. Feel free to keep your camera on or off. It's entirely up to you, but it's nice to see some smiling faces. So yeah, I'll leave that up to you. At some point through the presentation, I will ask you to use the chat box. So please do so. And if you've got any questions throughout tonight, again, pop those in the chat box, and then we can answer those at the end of the night. So we are going to kick off. So currently, women and girls cricket represent the biggest opportunity in the sport. And now is the time, really, for us to support you and other clubs to build the foundations of what we hope will be an exciting and involving future for the game. So just an introduction, just gonna skip on. So for those that don't know me, my name's Steve, and I'm the Participation and Growth Officer for the board. So for the past few years, I've been working on women and girls cricket, and thankfully we've seen a massive increase in certainly women's softball cricket, and we're slowly started to see some sort of green shoots with regards to women's hardball cricket and girls cricket, which is really exciting. And to help us build on those green shoots, very recently we've appointed a specific women and girls development officer, and she is called Colette, and she will be starting on the 6th of April. So we've got very high expectations that Colette is going to pick up and run with our women and girls game, and hopefully have conversations with lots of you that are on the call this evening to make a massive impact. In the background as well, sorry, I should have said, monitoring our chat box this evening, we've got Emily, and in the background on mute, Matt is also here looking after some of the functions. So tonight, what can you expect to get out of tonight? Well, hopefully by the end of the session, you'll understand the stages in developing a women and girls cricket section. Excuse me. Hopefully you'll have an awareness of potential barriers and how they can be reduced by effective planning. You'll have an awareness of how to attract players. You'll understand how to retain players. And then finally, you'll have an awareness of how we can support you at your club. So that's what I hope you will leave the session with after about 40 minutes this evening. So before we kick off into the session, I've got a very small quiz. So this just provides a little bit of context before we get into the stages of planning a women and girls cricket section. So feel free to use the chat box. So this is where you can engage with the session. I've got some questions. I'll read the question out, and then you can just pop in your answer in the chat box. So my first question for all you quizzers is 20% of boys are active every day, but what percentage of girls are active every day? So use the chat box and yeah, see what you think. Okay, I'll give you 5 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So well done to those if you got anywhere near 14%. Okay, so really quite low. Second question. The perception is that sport is for boys. What percentage of girls feel they do not belong in sport? So again, pop your answers in the chat box. Have a go at guessing. Okay, just a few more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, yeah. So well done to those who went up in the upper echelons of percentage there. So 80%, which is obviously concerning. Third question. So 1.9 million 16 to 54-year-olds, 16 to 15-year-old women played a team sport in the last 12 months. But what percentage played cricket? So this was pre-pandemic. So this wasn't last year. This was the year before last. So what percentage played cricket? So pop your answers in there. Okay, some good answers coming in. Okay, so the answer in 3, 2, 1, here we go, 14%. Okay, so again, quite low. And the last question for this evening completes our quiz. Nationally, what percentage of cricket clubs offer women and/or girls cricket? Have a go. Okay, some good guesses there. So some answers in 3, 2, 1. Here we go, final answer. So it's less than 15%. I see some raised eyebrows. So just to give you a bit of context then, so girls drop out of sport and physical activity at a faster rate than boys. By the age of 14, about 1 in 10 girls are actually doing enough physical activity to benefit their health. And then this disparity will continue as girls move into adulthood. However, there is some encouraging news. Research has suggested that girls and women do want to be more active, but there's some really big barriers that both women and girls face. These barriers are things like confidence, body image, boys, but also choice. And I think that's really well reflected in the last 2 questions. So nationally, if we look at less than 15% of cricket clubs have a women or girls section, is it really any surprise that about 14% of women actually played cricket in the last 12 months as a team sport? Well, probably not. And hopefully, if there's an opportunity to increase the range of opportunities, then it stands to sense that that number will increase. So I think if we position our offer correctly, or if clubs position their offer correctly, there's a real chance that a club can have a thriving women and girls section. So just on to the next one. So what does your club need to start, or sorry, why does your club want to start a women or girls section? So this is a fundamental question, really. You need to really examine why your club wants to start a women or girls section. So if you can use either the chat box or in your toolbar, or where it says view options, there might be a tool that says annotate. If you can find the annotate tool, then you can actually write on the white screen. But if you can't find that, feel free to use the chat box and pop your answer in there. So the question is, why does your club want to start a women or girls section? If you've already got a women or girls section and you want to move into another area of women or girls cricket, so maybe you want to develop a girls section when you've got a women's section, or you don't want it to develop a hardball section when you've got a softball section. What is it? Why do you want to start a women or girls section? So just a few seconds, pop your answers in there for me. It'd be interesting to see what your thoughts are as to why you want to start a women or girls section. So you can use the chat box, or if anyone can find the annotate tool, and feel free to use that. Okay, so there's a few coming in, fantastic. Yep, so engage with a wider community, increase membership.
We've got to increase membership and encourage a more family environment.
Okay.
Missing a girls section. Offer the same opportunities to both sexes. Increase participation and help in running a family club. But there's very few clubs offering girls cricket in their area.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Okay, so we've got a few answers coming in there. thank you for that. So a lot of them are around equal opportunities, increasing wider membership and becoming that heart. Okay, if we can clear the screen for a second, Matt, we can move on. Okay, so looking at your answers, I think they probably all came under one of these headings. So there's a lot around becoming heart of the community, offering something for everyone. So I think that cricket clubs have a real opportunity to welcome women and girls from within the community who are looking to become active. And we know that there is a market for women and girls to be active. They want to be more active. We've already discovered that. Whether the women or girls join as new players or women join as volunteers, they both have the potential to add a lot of value to club life and will ensure a thriving and sustainable cricket club that is central to community life. By making the club the heart of the community, it will ensure its longevity. If you can offer a family activity that engages male and female, then you position yourself, like I say, right at that heart of the community, and hopefully your club will then keep going from strength to strength. So before we begin to look at the stages of setting up a club, it's really important to analyse and explicitly understand why your club wants to set up a women and girls section. So how to start a women and girls section at your club? Well, it is really quite hard to pin this down and to do a presentation in such a short amount of time. But I've tried to narrow it down into 4 stages for you, and we're going to take a journey through each stage. So start at the beginning, always the best place to start. So stage 1 is all about club buy-in. So stage 1 is the most important. Whole club buy-in is essential to provide a firm foundation on which to build. Without a club buy-in as your firm footing to build on, then anything else that you try and put on top of that is likely to crumble. It may last for a little bit, but at some point it is likely to topple down. So first and foremost, you need to get backing from the club management and committee. Everyone from the chair to the groundskeeper must be brought in so that everyone is pulling in the same direction. I think stage 1 is really about getting your committee together and agreeing to commit the whole club in creating a women and girls section. At this stage, the committee may want to begin to adjust their whole club development plan to reflect this new ambition of setting up a girls section. And in fact, you may then decide to have your own club development plan or your own action plan for setting up a girls section. And this development plan will really help you embed a successful section. This plan can help you identify what you have now, where the gaps might be, and it will help you understand what you need to fill those gaps. It will help you identify where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And more importantly, like I've said, it will offer your whole club and members and volunteers a shared goal and something that everyone is working towards. I can't stress enough, it's really important that you embed the women and girls section as part of your club. It's not an add-on, it's not a bolt-on, it's not something that sits in the side, it's something that's fully integrated as part of your whole club. It needs to be a shared club goal or vision. Everyone needs to be on board. This means involving the women and the girls in all aspects of club life and providing them with equal opportunities. It means equal access to coaching and facilities. It means them feeling like they are part of the club. It means involving them in the management and governance of the club. Having the whole club support and everybody on board is the key to success. It's really important we get that whole club buy-in. Okay, so now after stage 1, you begin to get your club buy-in, and I thought at this point it will be useful if perhaps we can speak to someone who's a little bit further on in terms of their development of their women and girls section, but maybe we can revisit what some of their experiences were like when they started their journey. So I'm going to see if Sarah Watts is on here. Can we see if we can get Sarah unmuted for a second?
I am here, Steve, but it won't say it's me. It's on my daughter's iPad. So I come up as Erin's iPad today because
Fine.
I've got my laptop with my name on it running our club youth call at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening, Sarah. It's really appreciated. You just want to just introduce yourself and just say just a tiny bit about Clavering Girls section before I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah, sure. So I'm currently the chair at Clavering Cricket Club, started last year, so I've been chair at the club for a year. So obviously it's very much in my interest as also our girls manager to make sure we've got a focus on our girls cricket. So we've just completed 3 full seasons of our girls team. The year before that, we kicked off the girls section by using the This Girl Can campaign, and we had some funding to run some sessions. So we got a local sports coach in for 5 or 6 sessions, and the girls we got involved in that were a couple of members of the club. We roped in our daughters, got them to bring their friends. I think we ended up with about 9 or 10 girls for those sessions. And then we kind of dropped them in the deep end and entered them into the indoor cricket league. So I went along with them then purely as just a parent turning up with my daughter to kind of make sure everyone turned up and knew what they were doing. And yeah, the girls' faces when we kind of went, yeah, now you have to bowl and you're actually playing a match. And they were starting from no experience whatsoever. I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing with them either. But they loved it. They played that first day, they played a match, and over this, I think it was about 4 matches they played, and they lost them all, but they didn't care. They just really enjoyed themselves. We had comments from other teams about their team spirit, the way they encouraged each other. So after that, that's when I kind of looked and thought it would be good to actually just set up our own team. Yeah, and just kicked it off that way, really. And then, yeah, as I said, we're 3 full seasons in now after that, and we've got probably 25 girls.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Sarah. Just taking you back three years ago. So looking back when you first started, bearing in mind, like you said, you weren't chair then, but looking back when you first started, how did you manage to get the whole club buy-in? How did you approach your committee? Or yeah, can you remember how that journey started and how you approached the club to get that whole club buy-in to actually start a girls section?
Yeah, so it was through the youth coordinator. So I think the committee had already decided through kind of somebody else that was on the committee to do the This Girl Can. But then when I wanted to actually set up the team sort of more officially, it was done via the youth coordinator. Okay. So I think it's important to actually be seen as, you know, as part of your youth section, that the girls is just another team as part of that section, and not seen, I know you use the word yourself, as another sort of bolt on and thing to the club. You are actually part of that youth offering with the girls team. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then why do you think it was important to have that whole committee buy-in? What difference did it make by having the committee behind you and sharing the same sort of goals and vision?
So the things like you said, so you need their buy-in to make sure you're getting your allocated time to train. So it's kind of saying, this is when we want access to the pitch for our training, to make sure you get it. Making sure you can get actual funding. So when you first start off, you're going to need kit. So you need the club to be able to support you. You may be able to get some funding, but you also need the club to support you in that. We did things like we went and got some girls' shirts. We did get some local funding to help support us to get some girls' shirts to help them feel part of a team. But the whole club buy-in, if you haven't got your club buy-in at committee level, you will not develop, you will not be able to push that team forward, because you'll be seen as just more of a little side project that can be sort of slotted in wherever, and you can't proceed like that really and develop.
No, that's great. So whole club buy-in, yeah, committee backing. And then just a little bit about how soon you may have started in terms of putting together a sort of, maybe a loose club development plan, or a plan for your girls section about where you might want to be at the end of your first year, or maybe second year. When did you start to explore that sort of vision in a bit more detail?
Yeah, so start with our vision, sorry, I've gone a bit echoey. The vision for the first year was very definitely around, let's see how many girls we can get engaged, and let's focus on softball, and as we still do now, make the sessions fun for the girls, make the girls want to come because they're having fun. So the first year was all around just developing their skills, getting them involved, taking advantage of anything that kind of the cricket board are offering in terms of festivals and those kind of things. And that was very clear. That's just the first year. If we could have achieved that by the end of that first year, great. And then our second and third year, we've been around trying to encourage the girls who want to branch out into hardball. So the next 2 years, our plan was introduce a bit of hardball in kind of a safe environment as part of our girls' sessions. So as part of our girls' sessions, take a few into the nets. We actually got some more kit. So again, that's where your committee approvals needed. We got some more funding from them to buy some specific girls' kit that would actually fit them and not trip them over when they're trying to run around in the pads. And then that's kind of those years. And then this year that we've just finished, we saw probably over half of our girls doing hardball cricket as part of our mixed youth league. So that gradual building them up, giving the confidence. So we found the younger ones were keener to try hardball than the older ones. The older ones came in, did softball for 2 whole years, then we're like, no, we don't want to try hardball. The younger ones seem to be more keen. And then in terms of our development plan now going forwards is, how do we then get these girls into our women's section? How do we keep them involved in the mixed youth leagues? And how do we get enough girls to be able to field in the long term a girls women's hardball team as well?
Right, thanks, Sarah. And then the final question, which you sort of touched on in terms of getting club kit for the girls, it's around how did you successfully manage to make the girls, so revisiting right back from almost day one when you started, how did you successfully get the girls to feel part of Claverham Cricket Club from that moment that they arrived?
So a lot of it is to do with the parents as well. So I think you've got 2 aspects. You've got the girls and you've also got the parents as well, because if the parents don't feel part of the club, they're not going to bring the girls. So a lot of the girls that are with us now, they don't come from cricketing families. They haven't got parents that have ever played cricket. They haven't got siblings that play cricket. So it was about those parents making them feel part of the club. So even things like, social media, Facebook pages, making sure we're mentioning the girls' cricket, WhatsApp groups with them. When the girls join, I gave them a little newsletter that said, this is what girls' cricket's all about. This, you don't need any kit, just turn up. This is what our plan is for this year. And then in terms of the girls, we had the shirts. So we had just green sports tops with the Claverham logo on. We do Friday nights at our club for the girls' cricket. So we do it after All Stars. So at the end of All Stars, we've generally, apart from last year, we have a little tuck shop. So the girls come and the girls work on the tuck shop and they sell the sweets to the kids. We get them coming to help at All Stars as well. When it came to presentation night from the very first year, because I really wanted us to be seen as part of our youth offering, presentation night was under 11s, under 13s, under 15s and girls. So we did trophies for our girls, even though we weren't in a league. I felt it was really important for that. We still do that now. And it's just, when they're up at the club, it's just about talking to them, talking to the parents, making them feel like they've got a say in what you're doing as well, But yeah, all aspects of the club, when we do social events, the girls are the first ones that will come and help you.
Yeah.
If you put messages out for all of the youth teams asking them to help at things, it's always the girls that will come and help. So if you need extra volunteers, get a girls section.
Brilliant. I think that's a nice way to finish there, Sarah. Thank you very much for your time this evening. Yeah, I'll let you go, and then we're gonna move on. Thank you very much, Sarah. Thank you. So just to sort of go through with some of the points that Sarah was talking about, you can see it's really essential to get that whole club buy-in and that committee support, and have everyone behind you and moving the section forward, which leads quite nicely into stage 2. So we've managed to get everyone at the club on board with your vision of starting a women or girls section. At this stage, you might have a loose development plan, like we said. You've got the committee on board. Now what? Well, the next stage is to start thinking about planning. Okay, so why? The first question I've got down there is why. What is the rationale for your club to start a women or girls section? Well, you've already answered that in the previous slide. And we've seen that for most, it's wanting to grow and provide opportunities for women and girls to be involved in cricket. And by providing this new opportunity, your club is then positioned at the heart of the community, because you offer a boys and a girls mix. You might offer a male and a female mix. So something at your club is accessible for the whole family. And hopefully by doing that and becoming that heart of the community, your club will just continue to go from strength to strength. So that's the why, and I think most of us were on the same page for that. The next point is what on my list. And this really relates to the question of what is the need for a women or girls section at your club? I think if you can answer this question, it will help you seek confirmation that a new women or girls section at your club will flourish outside the sort of traditional notion of build it and they will come. Now, although this notion is actually a sound notion, and in fact, if you build it, they will actually come. But I think if you can actually do a bit more research and have a better understanding of what need is there for a women and girls section at your club, you're likely to have a section that flourishes and grows a little bit quicker. So the question of what refers to what evidence can you identify that will help you understand if there's a need for a women and girls section at your club. So I want you just to use your chat box and have a think about your club. So if you're going to set up a new girls section this year, what evidence is there at your club that your under 11 section will flourish? If you're thinking of starting a women's section, what evidence is there around you that there's a need for a women's section? Likewise, if you want to go from softball to hardball, what evidence is there for that transition? Okay, so just use the chat box and have a little think. Okay, so just pop in some answers. Can you think of any evidence that points to this being a good idea? And we'll just see what comes in. Pop anything in the chat box. I'll give you a little example. So at your club, you want to start a girls under 11 section. What evidence is there that this is potentially a good idea? Well, you already know at your club that you do an all-stars section, and you know that in your all-stars section, you've got maybe 12 girls aged 7, maybe the top end of 8. Do you know that there's good evidence there already that this is pointing towards you potentially starting or have a good core of girls that could transition into an under 11 section? Can you think of any other evidence that might point towards having a women or girls section? Yeah, so we've got all stars there.
Facebook seniors. Been asking why they don't have a women's section.
Yep.
Lots of mums and daughters that are always there and play together after training.
Yeah, great reason.
All stars.
Yeah, all stars are building that pathway. Okay, so there's a few reasons in there. I'll just chip in with a a few others. So improving club facilities, I've just seen come through. Yeah.
Girls want to play outside of school as well.
Yeah, fantastic again. No teams in the local area. Yep, great. Okay, so we'll just move on from that. So just some other evidence that you might be able to look for, which some of you have alluded to. You might have a number of girls already playing in your mixed junior sections. There might be a number of local schools, whether that's primary or secondary, that already enter cricket competitions or festivals. Maybe the number of women, I think someone alluded to it in there, maybe the number of women that are around your club that actually stay and watch on junior training nights, or they stay for matches. Maybe the number of female committee members involved in the game. Someone mentioned, have you been approached by members? Is there a number of other female activities in the area? Are there a number of hockey teams, netball, football clubs? Is there a good core of women's only other activities or girls only other activities? Is there a strong girl guiding section within your local community? Any evidence that you're looking for that points to an offering that will work for women and girls, gives you a good understanding if a women or girls cricket session will work. So that's just a little bit around assessing the need. The next bit is around format. Now this will largely come from your consultation, or it might indeed be led by yourself. If you're looking at attracting new women or girls to the game, then you might be looking to start perhaps a softball section. However, if you have a number of older girls playing hardball cricket, and perhaps you have a women's softball section that exists already, and you've got a number of confident and competent softball players, then maybe you might be looking to develop a hardball section. So the format will largely be decided by the players that you want to attract and where your section is or where your club is in terms of its cricket journey. Then moving on to who should be involved. Now this is quite a key one. So who should be involved in setting up your section? Getting the right people involved is going to be key. You need to consider what skills are needed to develop a section and then identify the right people to build that team. What you want to try and avoid is perhaps getting someone that's already heavily involved in the club and already does loads and loads of jobs and has lots of responsibilities, having a lasting input into the day-to-day running of your new section. You want to use this as try and attract and engage a new set of volunteers. So can you begin to identify a key female or perhaps females to drive this new section forward? Maybe it's someone who's always around at the ground, always at the club or match days supporting. Might already be someone that's involved with the club. Then you need to think, well, will you then create a new position on your club committee? And who might this be? Because it's really essential that your club committee reflects the demographic and the sort of sections you've got within your club. Then you need to think around in terms of building your team. Do you have a coach? Is it the right coach? Do they understand how best to engage women or girls? Do they understand what will engage women or girls? Do they understand the need for women and girls to build relationships and to be social? Maybe you can get some mums involved. A lot of mums are willing to help if asked, and often girls will often engage better with women. Is this an opportunity to engage, like we've already said, a whole new wave of volunteers? And we heard from Sarah. She said that by starting her girls section, she recruited a lot of new volunteers into the game, which is exactly what you're trying to do. So identifying who needs to be involved and what skills are needed for each role in building this team will help to ensure that your section is off to a flyer. So have a good think around who should be involved. The next one is around awareness of commitments. So when planning your new women or girls section, having an awareness of other commitments will be really handy to ensure that your session is best placed to attract some new players. So for example, have a think when training will be. Will this clash with other female sports clubs or activities? If you're doing a girls section at under 11s, perhaps will it clash with girl guiding opportunities? Or is there another girls section or women's section down the road? When do they train? Is there enough interest to support both teams? Could your women or girls sections work alongside other junior training sessions to minimise parental trips. If you do that, what session will you match it against? What time will be the best? So having a real understanding of what else is out there will avoid unnecessary clashes and will give your section the best chance of succeeding. Then we're into consultation. So getting views from all your members in the planning stage is really helpful. By consulting all your members, it will help identify and confirm a need. Well, it will also might flag up some new volunteers that might want to engage in your new women or girls section. And you might even find your new women and girls officer or your new women and girls committee lead. So how can you get this feedback? It might be something as simple as face-to-face conversations when those can happen, surveys, social media, questionnaires. If you do something face-to-face, why not do some sort of club presentation night? Make it social, make it attractive. So, and a bit like Sarah said, if you're looking to start certainly a girls sections, be prepared to spend a lot of time talking to parents about the benefits of the girls sections, because parents, as I'm sure you know, will have a massive influence on children. So be prepared to explain all the benefits of setting up a girls section. So be prepared to spend a lot of time talking. The last point on this slide is understanding the barriers. It's really important to understand the barriers in the planning stage. So when we talk about barriers, we're talking about barriers that women and girls might face to access not only cricket, but physical activity and sport. If you can begin to understand those barriers now, you can begin to potentially address those, so you stand a much better chance of attracting players. So when it comes to understanding the barriers, I want you to try and just use your chat box or the annotation tool again, and just have a think of what are the barriers to participation for women or girls. Have you got any ideas? So I'll kick you off with one. It might be lack of confidence, okay? See if you can come up with any other ideas around what are the potential barriers to participation that girls and women might face. Chat box or use your annotation tool and just write it up on the screen. Let's see what we can come up with.
We've had not knowing other people, family commitments, lack of knowledge.
Yeah, then up on the screen we've got body image, yeah, male dominated, childcare, boys, that male dominated.
More of a boys sport.
Yep.
Not even knowing cricket for girls is available.
Yep. Okay. Okay, some good answers there. We're just gonna, yeah, not a game for females. Yep. Oops. All right, if you can clear the screen for me, Max. Thank you for that. So just to give you an example of potential barriers, a lot of those that you might have come up with were listed here. There are more barriers than I've listed, but I've just picked out some of the key ones, and just to help you understand how this relates to planning. So like I said, if you've got an awareness of what the barriers might be, you can begin to hopefully address these in your planning stage. So for example, if you know that body image and lack of confidence is a barrier for women, then you really need to think about if they're not on their own training, who their session is matched up against. So if you're doing a women's section, you may not want to match it up against the men's session. If you're doing a girls section, you may not want to have it running the same time as the under 14, under 16 boys, perhaps, okay? Or likewise, if you know that an issue might be around equipment, can your club look at purchasing some equipment? So it's about breaking down these barriers. If you've got an understanding of what they can be, you can begin to sort of nip them in the bud and plan to overcome these barriers. So we're on to stage number 3. So at this stage, we have whole club buy-in. We've consulted with our club members. We have a team of people willing to help drive this new section forward. And luckily, we've managed to find someone to sit on the committee as a women and girls officer. We understand the barriers that women and girls face when trying to engage in cricket, and we've carefully chosen the right coach on the best night at the right time. So I think you'd agree we're doing pretty well at the moment. So the next stage is around attracting players. So like Sarah said at the start when she was talking, fun and social. Your sessions have to be fun and social, whether they're aimed at under 11s or women's hardball. Women and girls often want to connect and make social relationships. Ideally, the coach should be skilled at being able to facilitate group activity in a way that allows for women to spend that time bonding and making those friendships. Also, the coach should allow some flexibility so the group can begin to maybe dictate or express what they would like covered as part of their training. And it's really important to understand that while men want to understand how things work, women are much more interested in connecting and bonding with people. So taking those times and allowing time in the session for those connections will really help you attract new players. And as people come along to your session and they experience that time and meeting new people, then their word of mouth will extend to others, and hopefully you'll begin to build up new players. So that's fun and social. Incentives, this is quite interesting as a core value. If you can understand what are core values for women and what helps them understand or what influences their decision making, it will help you attract players. So the core values really represent what's important to women and how they want to spend their time or energy. And of course, as they go through their life, things will become more important and other things will become less important. But if you can actually understand what informs decision making, and you can reflect this in your marketing or your messaging and use it as an incentive, you really stand a much better chance of attracting players. So the types of core values that I'm talking about that involve decision making are feeling good. So women in sport, understanding women's lives, highlights research that feeling good, women will use this to make a decision if it makes them feel good. Okay, will it help them achieve goals? Will it help women or girls develop skills? Will it help them nurture friends or family? Will it help them have fun? And will it help them look good? So if you can understand these decision-making factors, it will really help you. So I'll give you an example. If you have a women's section already and you want to start a girls section or vice versa, why not market your section as a mums and daughters taster session? Because we know that from research, it suggests that women will make decisions based on anything that might help nurture their friends or their family. So if you can offer an activity that allows women and daughters, mums and daughters, to spend time together, and you can market that, that's instantly going to appeal to a core of women. So yeah, it's worth understanding these connections. And likewise, why not, if you're looking to start a new women or girls section, why not really be explicit in your marketing? So it says something like, want to learn new skills or have fun, and really play on those decision-making factors. Okay, so hopefully that just explains the connection between understanding that and then putting it in your marketing. This then brings us on to effective marketing. So in addition to what I've just spoken about, women and girls also want to know things like where sessions take place, how much does it cost, what level of ability should I be, what equipment will I need to play, what should I wear, who else will be there, who do I need to speak to on arrival. All of these questions women and girls want to find out about, because we've already seen there's certainly a few barriers to participation. If we can begin to answer these questions in our marketing, again, we stand a much better chance of attracting women and girls to our section. So if you can answer all of these in your flyer, that's great. But in reality, you're not going to be able to answer these just in one flyer. So you might need to think outside the box. Why not try a promotional video? So if you started a couple sessions, why not go along and take a video of the section, show the process, maybe have a conversation with the coach, show them exactly what equipment they will be using, what sort of things they will be doing. So you can begin to inform and show people what to expect at your session. It's breaking down all of those barriers around having the confidence, what kit to wear. So if you can begin to do this in lots of creative ways, like I said, you stand a much better chance of recruiting players. The next thing in terms of effective marketing, you need to look at where do you actually find players? How are you going to find people to come along to your women and girls section? I've broken it down into four key groups, so hopefully it makes some sense, and you can really begin to target where you want to advertise and promote your new section. So the first is connected women or girls. So what do I mean by connected women or girls? It's women or girls that have a connection to your cricket club. So whether that's through a husband, whether that's through a brother, whether that's through a mum. So all of those connections, how are they connected to your cricket club? The next type of group that you want to try and attract and engage with is the sporty women or girls, because we know that they're already engaged in sport and physical activity. But it's much easier to try and get those people to come across to a cricket session than it is trying to engage someone who's never done any sport or physical activity before. The next group is education. So specifically girls at school, primary school or college. They're all in one place. So how can you connect to them? And then finally, this is a bit trickier in terms of your lapsed market. Have you got any people that played cricket for a bit but have gone away? How can you get them engaged back into your section? So we're going to try and use the chat box function again, or you can use the annotate tool. And I want you to think, how can you connect to each of these groups? What can you do as a club to reach out to these people? So I'll give you a very simple example. Connected women or girls at your club, how can you engage with them? It might be a simple membership database, mail out everyone on your database, letting them know that you've got a women or girls section coming up, and you might invite them to a presentation night at the club or a come and find out information evening at the club. Okay, so use your annotation tool, your chat box, and see if you can think up one or two ways how you can connect to these sorts of groups. What can you do as a club to engage these people? Because this is where your players are going to come from.
Lots of social media, leaflets for schools and other sports clubs.
Yep.
An open day event.
Yeah, good. Like that one.
Local village groups.
Yep. Okay, and we've got social media, especially on any junior pages. Yep, that makes sense.
Trial sessions.
Yep, trial sessions. Again, just be wary of how a trial session might invoke. Again, are you good enough? So it might be a taster session, but I certainly understand what you mean. Yeah, good one.
Get all senior players involved.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's that whole club buy-in. So it's getting everyone on board and making it feel like a place for them, for sure. Summer schools, I can see coming through. Great idea. Yeah.
Talking to local clubs.
Yeah, definitely. That linking up with other clubs. So if you know that there's a hockey club down the road, if you want to start a new women's section, there's a hockey club down the road. Can you invite that hockey club to come across to your new cricket session for one evening and have a taster session? Can you do something, put on some food and do something social to engage them? And then could you challenge them to a match? Maybe at some point in the season you can play a cricket match against them. So that's engaging, it's thinking, looking at what other groups are out there and how can you engage with them. Okay. All right, Matt, if we can wipe the screen. Thank you for that. There's some good thought. But those are certainly the four core areas that I would suggest that you focus your time on when it comes to effective marketing and where to target people. Okay, on to the next slide. So here we are again. Your session is now in full flow. Your marketing has been successful. You've attracted a steady flow of pairs. Now you must do your best to retain them. We want our players to stay. So our first one is welcoming facilities. You need to ask yourself one or two key questions here. It's really as simple as that. Would anyone who walks into your club or visits your club website or social media page know that you've got a women or girls section? Okay, how would they know? Would women or girls feel at home in your club, or would they feel like a guest? Okay, so have a think about your club. Yeah, that's a good point. How would we actually know if we've got a women and a girls section actually playing at our club? Okay, and it might be something like you might have some female cricketing images around the clubhouse on your web page, on your social media. It's quite evident that you've got a women and girls section. It might be simple as the facilities are actually clean, the toilets are actually clean, maybe the changing rooms are tidy. So it's all of those things. It's about making your facility as welcoming as possible. If you're on the other workshop the other night, Matt was talking about why the ladies at one particular club, the women at one particular club didn't stay. And it was because the toilets were disgusting and the bar didn't stock the right drinks. So it's just about thinking about making your facility as welcoming as possible. The next one is around quality experience. And that's in, do they receive good coaching, frequent coaching? Are they involved in the decisions? Is there a calendar of social events to allow for opportunities for socializing? Are there mirrors in the female toilets, perhaps? Is there actually a process for welcoming new members from email to contact at the first session? Is there someone who specifically does that task? They receive the email, they reply, they meet them on the first training night. So again, it's thinking about all of those barriers and putting that in place to overcome them. Is there a process for members' feedback? Are you going to follow up people that don't come back? Because knowing why someone hasn't returned is equally as important as knowing why someone is staying. So you want to follow up those people that don't return and ask them why. Okay, moving on, we've got opportunities to play. The drug of playing is what's going to get people coming back. So are they engaged in competition? Are you aware of women and girls playing opportunities that your team can be involved in? Are they involved in the relevant competitions? Equal access. Can the women and girls section have access to the nets? Can they get access to the wicket for matches? Can you provide them their own dedicated equipment? Can you provide them dedicated and weekly coach time? Are they engaged, like Sarah said, as part of the awards celebration? Is there access to suitable changing? Is the club membership affordable? And the decisions that your club makes about women and girls and I guess the equity of the women and girls within your club will become evident over the year, but it's really about that equal access. Progression within the club. Is there a female pathway? So if you've got a girls section, are you going to have a women's section? Conversely, if you've got only a women's section, are you going to have a girls section? It's creating that pathway of progression through the club that will help you retain your players. And then finally, succession planning. We often find out that women and girls sections are built on one or two people, but they're the people that pick the team, they recruit the players, they pretty much do every single job in the club. What we want clubs to do is think about that succession planning. How can they get more people involved so it's not reliant on one person? So that's just a quick whistle stop of how you might be able to retain some players. Just very quickly, because I'm conscious of time, I'm just going to have a conversation. Matt, if you can unmute Jenny for me. So Midsummer Norton have been going for about 3 years now, very much in the same stage in terms of Claverham were all those 3 years ago. Very new. They engaged with us as a new section, as one of our sort of cricket offers, our sort of Activate program at the time. And I remember their first session, I think they had eight members, but now the club has considerably grown. And I thought it'd be useful just to hear from Jenny and to stop me talking around how their club successfully retained the members that it has. So Jen, if you're there, I'm just going to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
How many players do you have now at Midsummer, part of your section?
20.
Okay, fantastic. And then your first section, that first training session, I think you had what, 6 or 8?
Yeah, about that. Yeah, not even double figures. Yeah.
It was quite sparse. And in terms of retaining members, you're obviously doing a great job at that. But how do you think your club has been successful in creating that welcoming environment for players, or that welcoming facility?
I think it's going with what you said. So I was always the point of call at the very beginning. They would always email me, message me. I would always be there on that night to meet them. As a club, as a women's section, we are a very open women's section. Anybody comes in is treated, equally from the beginning, no matter what their experience is. We always check to make sure they've had a good time at the end, but without feeling that they're harassed and they have to come back again. We just try and make sure that everybody's having a good time throughout the whole of the session. So new people are being actively encouraged by those more senior players. Those players have been playing for a while. Those senior players will take the time to actually introduce a new skill to a new player, as well as having a coach that actually will devise that session. So those that have been playing for a while don't feel like they're having less of a session, because all the new time is given to new players. It's just making sure everybody has equal access at all time, really.
Thanks, Jen. You just mentioned equal access. Have you got any example, just to share with us in terms of how equitable your club is in providing for women and girls?
Well, we have a dedicated training night. Every Thursday night is our training night. We have a coach there. Our training session is from 6:30 till 7:30, but I can never get my girls off the field. So invariably we can be there till 8:30, 9 o'clock. But if someone can only do from 6:30 till 7:30, then they can. There's no, the commitment is as committed as they want to be. Some girls just want to come along and train. Some girls have got no interest in actually playing the competitive side of cricket. They just enjoy that hour and a half away. That's their time, that they can actually do what they want to do without thinking about the dinner, the kids, the husband, everything at home. So we very much let people take their cricket at the pace that they want to take it. Moving on to hardball, there are some women that definitely don't want to do hardball, and there are some girls that want to. So again, it's making sure that those that choose to stay at softball, it isn't a lesser option that they're taking, that their option to stay on soft is just as valid as those girls that want to move up and onwards to hard.
And then in terms of access to the ground and to the nets, there's no issue there, is there?
No, the nets are always available for using our training nights, but again, we can come down. We obviously, where there's junior training nights and senior training, but the weekends we can come and use those nets whenever we want to. That's the same for any other player. Any player at the club can have access to the nets, as long as they're not being used as a coaching session. We always have a wicket prepared. We not necessarily play on the first team wicket, but we will always have a wicket properly prepared for us by our groundsman, with the correct boundary line and wickets all stumps in. He has our fixtures, and he will always make sure that we have a square. We always try and play on the main ground. We're lucky we have 2 pitches, but we always try and make sure that we play down on the main ground in front of the clubhouse, so anybody coming along Sunday afternoon having a beer at the pub in a bar can see and watch the women's cricket going on as well. So we always try and make sure that our games are played at home on our main ground.
Great, thanks. And then in terms of competition opportunities that you're engaged with, so we talked about being involved in competition as a reason why players might stay. Are you involved in any competitions as part of the club?
We've always done the hard and the soft, the soft, and obviously indoors. We've always tried to host the festivals. They're always a good way for anybody to get people coming into the club. That if you give it a good fun environment, that's what really has brought us more players, by doing bubbles and bats, by doing festivals, just a local friendly competition in-house amongst clubs that are around us. So as I said, our girls are always keen to play. They're keen to be given any opportunity they can to, get the bat in their hand and have a game. So we're always prepared to travel. Sometimes you have to travel, especially last year when we didn't really have a season. So I think I think you have to be prepared to just take everything that you can, and then eventually those girls, it will just come through. It'll come through.
Great, thanks, Jen. And then just on the last point around succession planning, we spoke around often a lot of women's sections and girls sections, more so women's sections, tend to be built on one or two key people. I don't suppose you can share any sort of example of how you might have overcome this as a club?
We've been lucky. We have had some dominant players, but I think we've managed to kind of pitter that out, and we've managed to just figure out that actually there are always going to be strengths. Someone's always going to have a strength, but actually what they might have in strength in one game, they'll have a weakness in another area. So we have really tried to work on actually a team spirit, and we do have a really good camaraderie on the pitch, off the pitch. You'll always find us, and we're very social with when we're playing in a game. We're always very polite. We're on the field to the opposition as well as to ourselves. So we just try and hold ourselves as a team, as we kind of treat each other the way we want to be treated if somebody else was there. So we just try and generally be nice to each other, really.
Yeah. And what about, sorry, Jen, I didn't phrase the question. And
That's
what
right.
about in terms of, a couple of years ago, you were pretty much running the team
Yes.
single-handedly.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us how you might have evolved that so it's not so reliant on yourself now?
Well, being honest, I threw everything out of the pram and said I was not doing this anymore. And I think it made people go, oh, hang on a minute. And then we just devised a committee. So we devised a committee amongst ourselves, and very much similar to the way the men's do. So we have, we have a fixture secretary, we have a social secretary, we have a chair, we have a secretary. And I myself am on the main club committee, so I can report back to the club as to what the ladies section are doing, but we're not separate from the actual club. So we don't, the committee that we run just makes sure that we're organised, so we all know what we're doing, and it's not all falling on one person's shoulders.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jen. Okay, that's great. Thank you for that. So that's just a useful insight to see how one particular club is looking to retain its members. And certainly from my experience in contact with Jen, the new subcommittee, I guess, that Midsummer Norton have set up is a great model in terms of engaging the women in running the club and taking the ownership of it, and it takes that pressure off one person. So just to summarise, setting up a section, we've gone over the 4 key stages around club buy-in. Whole club buy-in is really important. Planning, understanding the barriers, getting the right people around you. Then it's about attracting players, where to look for people and what message am I going to convey. And then it's about retaining players once you've got them. But the ECB have put together 6 simple steps to creating a successful section. And number 1 is the women and girls section receives coaching from coaches who understand their needs, and ideally offering a winter and summer program. So there's something, not all year round, but there's something for most of the year to keep them engaged. Second one, the club provides opportunities for women or girls to play their preferred format, okay, which we've spoken about. The women or girls section is represented on the committee, and we said ideally the person who represents it is a reflection of the women and girls section. So ideally it's a female that does that. The women or girls have equality or equity of access to the facilities. Number 5, the club are good at recruiting and retraining players or volunteers, which we've sort of touched on just then. And finally, the club has a realistic plan of developing the women or girls section. So just to go over some of our support. So through our engagement with women and girls clubs, we will provide you with as many templates as we can that engage some of the messages that we've spoken about tonight. So the top right flyer, as I look at it, the one with lots of little like top trumps players on there, this is our women's softball offer flyer. So we thought it would be a good way for other women to relate to other players. There's a fun sort of fact from each player and a favourite thing. And again, it's about being relatable and breaking down those barriers so people can identify. But we do lots and lots of templates that we can support clubs with. The other thing that we begin to support with is our Dynamos Plus offer for under 11 girls. So We will offer training through the Dynamos Activator training and one free place on an F1 as part of our under 11 Dynamos Plus offer. So if you want to start a girls under 11 section, we can support you through this Dynamos Plus offer. So it's training, it's equipment. You obviously get the Dynamos kit, but we will provide you with an SCB top up. Recruitment with our coaches, we will work with you and we will target schools where we can go in and deliver. We'll produce you a club template flyer, and we will support with county-wide Facebook advertising to engage girls. Coaching, we will support your session with one of our coaches coming out to work with you to run your first 2 sessions for under 11 girls. We will offer match play opportunities right across the county, and we will provide specific sessions in the spring to engage your girls. We're talking around that whole year offer. So to bring your girls, engage them in the spring, and we will offer one more F1 place for someone who wants to get involved. If you want to start a girls section, we can support you through Dynamos Plus. If you want to start a women's softball section, again, we can support you through our Give It The Go program. Very similar in terms of free places for someone from your club who wants to coach the section. So we can help by providing an 8-week session plan. We can offer you a free place on an F1. We can provide you with some equipment. Again, recruitment, we will do flyers, county-wide Facebook advertising. Coaching, we will send one of our coaches to come along and support your coach to deliver the first 2 sessions for women's training. You'll have access to plenty county-wide festivals, which is a great way for beginners to take part. And again, we will offer another subsidised F1 place. And then finally, if you're interested in starting a hardball section, we've got our Grow the Game offer. Again, it's the same theme, and we will offer a free F1 place for anyone in your club who wants to take on the role of coach of your women's hardball section. We will offer a subsidised hardball kit bag. Recruitment, so we will do taster sessions around the county, although that may have changed given the position we're in at the moment, but we would have done taster sessions around the county. We offer you club flyers like the ones I've shown, the template flyers, and again, we will do some county-wide advertising. We will send a coach out to work with your coach for the first 2 sessions to support you. Plenty of match play opportunities for clubs that want to start women's hardball sections. And again, there will be plenty of indoor, winter and spring opportunities next year to keep your women engaged in hardball training. So I'm just conscious that I whistled through that because I'm conscious of the time. So that concludes the session. So if you want to start a women or girls section, we've gone through the stages, and the message is really that last few slides. The message is that you're not alone. We will support you through one of our programs. So please get in touch. I'm sure we will send out the video recording of this and you can watch this again. But we'll also send out my contact details and obviously Colette's contact details, and we will begin to work with you to help you start your journey into women and girls cricket. I don't know if there's any questions in the chat box, but hopefully we've covered most of everything.
There's a couple. The first one, which has pretty much been answered by someone else in the chat, is what is an F1 place?
Okay, so if that's been answered, yeah, that's the new foundation.
And then how do we access the equipment bag?
Okay, so again, it depends which program you're referring to, but all the equipment bags, so if we're talking women's hardball and women's softball, those will be delivered to you before your sessions start. Myself or someone else will bring them to you. Yeah, so that's how you access them. Okay, if there are no other questions.
Steve, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can I just say that anyone that's thinking about taking it on, the support that we have had from Steve and everyone at Somerset has been amazing. So if anyone's just thinking about taking it on, you are really fully supported all the way through. Just wanted to say that.
Thanks, Jen. Great. Well, I'll leave you for the rest of your evenings. Please don't hesitate to contact me. I appreciate there was a lot of information to go through there. It's quite a big subject to break down in such a short amount of time. Yeah, good luck to everyone who wants to start. And yeah, we are only a phone call or an email away to work with you. Okay, have good evenings, everyone.